society over the last 50 years is that social tennis between friends and family is really no longer played on a regular basis. I used to play tennis, and one of the things I miss is playing quiet tennis. Quiet tennis, you ask? Well, quiet tennis is just like regular tennis, but without the racket. Last week in our devotions, we thought about the importance of controlling ourselves in all areas of life, especially in the area of sexual morality, and especially when it comes to our relationships with each other. Well, today, Paul builds on our relationships with each other by focusing on the idea of love and the goal of living a quiet life. 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 9. Now, about your love for one another, we do not need to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love each other. And in fact, you do love all of God's family throughout Macedonia. Yet we urge you, brothers and sisters, to do so more and more. Now, we've thought about this idea of doing even more over the last couple of weeks because our lives of faith are not like soft lounge chairs where we simply sit in comfort and do nothing. We are called to continue to grow in our knowledge of the Bible, continue to grow in our faith in Jesus, and continue to grow in our love for each other and for our neighbour. The love that the Thessalonians have is evident throughout Macedonia. However, Paul wants them to continue to love even more than they're already doing. And so too, we are called to love one another and to love our neighbour even more than we're already doing. In fact, I'm certain that if you make the effort to love your church family and your neighbour even more, that your relationship with them and with us will grow even more. And it's this concept of loving each other and our neighbour that leads Paul to remind the Thessalonians that the way they live testifies to the Lord and Saviour that they follow. Paul writes, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 10, we urge you, brothers and sisters, to do so more and more, and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody. Now, we tend to picture the idea of a quiet life in the same way that I imagine you picture the concept of quiet tennis. That is tennis where there is no noise. That's not what Paul has in mind when he speaks about a quiet life. Nor is he talking about living on a property, for example, where you rarely see your neighbour, or living like a hermit where you never leave your home. A quiet life, in terms of what Paul has in mind, is one where you still interact with your church family and your neighbours, but you interact with them in ways that show respect and submission to authority, that care and show concern for the weak and the helpless, that works hard at living by the standards of the Bible, and that promotes the joy and love that flows from a faithful life of following Jesus. This is why Paul reminds the Thessalonians that a quiet life is one where the unbeliever has no reason to gossip about you or ridicule about you, because from their perspective, you are a nice neighbour who genuinely cares about them and their needs. And so, friends, with that in mind, why don't you pray along the same line as Paul writes, which is to ask God to open the eyes of your neighbours so that they will be won over by your faithful life in Jesus. And as a result of your example, they will come to know Jesus as Lord and Saviour.